when I took the job I'm in now, I'm a real estate reporter in Miami. I had no clue about real estate, but I knew I was a good storyteller. So I applied for the job and I was like, this will be a nice change from what I've been doing. It's for law.com. It's writing, it's not on air. And so I was like, let me try this. I want to improve my writing skills. And so as the year went on, I've been there for almost 2 years now. I was like, you know what? I'm really enjoying real estate. This is actually really interesting and you can make money. So I started, from my Christmas present to myself was to get the course.
What up? It's your boy Blue Magic, owner of For Your Wear and one half of the Mixed Tag Show. Now, I know you've seen the announcement for some of your favorite podcasters and wrestlers. I've decided to expand my business to become a vendor so that people from the wrestling community have a better way to communicate with some of their favorites. So check out foryourwear.com and see if your favorite podcaster or wrestler has partnered up with me. If not, let them know that they should. Also, if you're looking for a vendor for your merchandise, reach out to me at Blue Magic Grind, spell how it sound, on Twitter and Instagram, or at ForYourWear, FORURWEAR, on Twitter and on Instagram. Shout out to Brian H. Waters and Breaking Through Glass Ceiling. Their merchandise are already up, and they're one of the first ones that's reported, so go support them. All right? Peace.
The thing that amazes me about this media business is the various types of jobs out there. What do I mean? Let me explain. Today's guest, Miss Melea VanOstrand, is a commercial real estate reporter, but she's also a residential realtor. I am so excited to welcome her on here today because we get to learn how she balances that. Melea and I met at NABJ years ago, and we've been connected ever since 2013. So it's almost 10 years. And to see her growth has been amazing. So we'll get into that and so much more coming up on this episode of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, on today's episode of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings, Brian H. Waters, I have a good friend of mine. We both members of the National Association of Black Journalists, and she's a crossover superstar. She's not going to admit that, but we're going to get into it. I have the one and only Miss Melea VanOstrand. Melea, how you doing today?
I'm doing really well today. Taking a break from work to do this, and I'm very excited to be able to speak with you today and speak with your audience.
Thank you. I'm excited. Before we get into all the particulars, I want to know just how are you doing mentally? How's everything been going so far? How's your year been?
The year has been great. So I actually got a mindset coach at the beginning of the year, and that has been so helpful to me because I felt really overwhelmed and stressed with everything I was doing. But it was a good reminder to just kind of step back, think about my priorities, and really shift how I'm thinking about things, because how your mindset is, you can really change the course of your life. So that's what that's really helped me with, and I feel like I'm finally starting to do. So mindset, I feel like I'm in a good spot. I meditate every day. That's something that has been really helpful, to develop. So
that's amazing. I've heard people talk about therapy. I know, like, I've been in therapy and it's really been helpful for me, especially, going into this next chapter of my life. But a mindset coach, that's, I haven't heard too many people talk about that. So I'm glad you was able to kind of like give some insight and, definitely believe that would be something people, will take away from.
Mm-hmm. And definitely, I'm an advocate for therapy too. I've done that as well. So I think they're both combined is so helpful. And everyone, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw you last month, and I mean, you look just happy, and it was great to see.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a really good space. I'm not stressed. I feel like I'm coming into my purpose in life, and I know the direction I want my career to go in. So it's a really good feeling, and I don't feel unhappy. I don't feel lost, and there were some points where I did feel like that. So I'm really happy at the place I am right now.
Oh, that's great. So let's jump in. graduated from Central State University, broadcast journalism. When
Mhm.
did you know you wanted to get into journalism?
In high school, actually, I joined the last semester of my senior year. We had a TV station at our school, and I decided to join that as an elective, and I loved it.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, well, I think I could make a career out of this. I was already a little bit familiar with how TV worked because one of my best friend's moms was a local anchor in our city. And so when we were young, she would pick us up from school and we'd hang out at the station. Um, so I was familiar with that, but I was like, okay, this is for me. I want to tell stories. I want to, um, be connected with the community. So for me, it wasn't about being on TV. It was about storytelling. So that's what really prompted me to major in broadcast journalism.
Wow. Okay. And why Central?
So this interesting story. So I'm actually adopted. I was adopted at birth by a white family. And so I did not have that connection at all to Black culture.
Mhm.
And so my mom, as a white woman, she was like, well, you're going to have Black godparents and I'm going to put you in diverse schools. But for college, she's like, you have to go to an HBCU. And so my adoptive dad passed away. And that was right before my senior year. And I did not want to be far away from home. So I chose Central State because it was an HBCU, but it was also still close to home. My hometown is Indianapolis, Indiana. So it was only about 2 hours away.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up. One of the things that, like I listened to like, previous podcasts you've done and the podcast you had and, just like read like some of your blogs and, I've always admired you for that. And especially, admired you being open about that. Uh, Now, when you was in high school, was your high school diverse?
Yes.
Oh,
Elementary school, middle school was not really diverse. I was only like one of five Black people. So in high school, my mom forced me to switch high schools, which at the time I wasn't happy about. So my freshman year, I switched to the public school. And so that was my first time really experiencing people from different countries and cultures. And I loved it. And I actually felt like I fit in. So, yeah, that was a really good experience, I think, for me.
yeah. But, like I said, that's just, amazing as,
Mhm.
for, you just to be able to, and, shout out to your mom for, having that foresight with
Mhm.
everything, So you get into your career, what was your internship experience like?
So I internshiped in Dayton at the ABC affiliate.
Mm.
Shout out to my mentors that still mentor me who are still in the business. They're in NABJ as well. Um, but yeah, I started there as a reporter intern. I loved it. I was shooting stand-ups. I don't know anything about sports, but every Friday I did their football Fridays and shot at the football games. So I was really active and involved with that. And so I really loved it. And so that just solidified that I wanted that to be a part of my career. And it was great, going out with reporters and they gave me the opportunity to shoot a lot of the B-roll that went on air. So I thought that was, a cool experience for me. And then I also did radio too.
Mhm.
My school had a radio station that broadcasted throughout all of Dayton. So I was actually a reporter on that as well. So I kind of started in radio before TV. So
You have a preference?
Um, not really. I like both. I like all the mediums actually. It's hard to
That's
say.
that's really good.
Yeah.
Now I remember when you started working at Fort Wayne,
Mhm.
at Fox 55. You talk about that experience. You spent 2 years there, and I remember you when you posted about it. Like I said, we was actually connected via social media first, and
Mhm.
then in a BJ, which we'll get into. But can you talk about your experience at Fort Wayne?
Sure. So in Fort Wayne, that was actually my second market. I was in South Dakota and Wyoming for 3 years. But there I was the weekend anchor. I solo anchored. So that was the first for me because my station before that, I had a co-anchor. And this next station, Fox 55, I solo anchored. I produced the show by myself. It was an hour-long show. We didn't have a news director for almost the last 10 months that I was there. So really we kind of ran our own show, and we were able to really collab with each other. I thought that was an interesting experience because we were our own bosses, and then on the weekends, I was the boss. So it taught me a lot about connecting with your employees, running stuff, prioritizing what's important, what's not. So it was a really good experience for me. I will say that it wasn't as diverse as I wanted it to be. I still think in general with TV, newsrooms can be a lot more diverse. Um, but I think, every station in this industry has its problems. So despite those problems, it was a good place for me to kind of learn and figure out what I want for the next step.
Yeah. Now you went to Boston University
Mhm.
for, to get your master's in criminal justice. What led you to want to pursue further education, and why criminal justice?
That's a good question. So, criminal justice, I was always fascinated with, especially crime. So, I did a lot of crime stories in South Dakota. I did a lot of crime stories at Fox 55. That was kind of my niche. And so, I was like, you know what? I would love to be like an investigative reporter, or maybe do some kind of investigating on the side, or even some, what's it called, private investigation.
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, you know what? I can just go ahead and learn about criminal justice. And then my mentor suggested, well, why don't you go ahead and get a degree in that? So I did. And so I did that online while I was working full time, and while I was also pregnant with my second child. So it was a struggle and a challenge, but it was worth it. I actually kind of stepped into the legal field for a little bit. I did digital court reporting after that. And so that was a great opportunity for me to use my journalism skills and also my legal knowledge that I learned in grad school.
Yeah. Well, first of all, how how did you survive? Everything you did, everything you named was really tough. And I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, you said you came out of it and you did everything. Like I said, when I seen you, you look like the happiest you ever been. How did you do this?
Whew, looking back, I don't know, because like when I worked in Fort Wayne, I was living at home with my mom in Indianapolis. So I would take my daughter to preschool in the morning, and then I would drive an hour and a half to Fort Wayne. And then after my shift, I would drive back and tuck in my daughter. And so it was a lot of back and forth. And then at night, I would spend a lot of my hours just studying or doing my homework. So it took a lot of dedication, but I knew that, being a mom, that's really what motivated me. My children are everything, so I have to put their well-being first.
Yeah.
And I wanted to create those opportunities for myself with the education.
Okay. Yeah. And congratulations. First
Thank
off,
you.
congratulations. When How was it, just balancing being a mom and being a reporter? Because, especially with journalism, there's all types of stories you cover, right? And like you said, having a fascination with crime. Like, how did you keep your mental health in line while balancing, covering tough stories and being a parent?
That was really hard because I covered a lot of like child abuse cases or child deaths. And so that really gets to you. There were times when I would have panic attacks. And I think it was October. It was right before I discovered I was pregnant, but I was pregnant. So it was like really emotional. And so I was having a panic attack. And I remember there was one time on air when I had one, and I kind of froze up and I couldn't really read my script. And people noticed, like, what's wrong? And so that was the point where I was like, okay, this is kind of a lot to handle. Let me get a therapist. And so I did. And that really helped me work through how to better manage being a mom, how to better manage um, working at the same time, because it was a lot and it was very taxing. I would come home and not have the energy to do the things that I needed to do, and I was grumpy, and I didn't feel like me. So that really, I would say therapy is the thing that really helped get me out of that.
Yeah, that's good. Like you mentioned
Mhm,
earlier, just being an advocate for it.
mhm.
It's one of the things I, hope more people can take advantage of, just because you learn so much about yourself and how to navigate through life. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Breaking Through Glass Ceilings with Brian H. Waters. I want to let you know, now you can have your own Breaking Through Glass Ceilings t-shirts. Simply go to foryourwear.com, FORURWEAR.com. Go to the podcasters tab, click Brian H. Waters, and you can purchase your own t-shirt. Appreciate anybody who wants to support the show, want to show that, look, you rock with the message, you've been breaking through glass ceilings. So go ahead and get a t-shirt. I appreciate you. And also check out some of the other podcasters that have signed up with foryourwear.com and the homepage as well. We talk about NABJ. When did you first become a member, and how did you find out about NABJ?
In 2013, my mentor said, "Hey, you know what? We're part of NABJ." I was a part of like a student chapter on my campus. And so they said, "You should come this year, network, go to the career fair." I was still in school. So, I was going to the career fair just to get critiques on my reels. So my first convention was in 2013 in Orlando.
Mine
Um,
too.
so yeah, it was so much fun. But I learned so much. Like the sessions were great, but I really valued the feedback that I got at those from the booths at the convention, at the career fair.
Did you go to Disney World?
I did. I did. I remember the first night, there were all the fireworks, like the
Mhm.
fireworks show, and then I scrambled and I was like the first one on my favorite ride, which is the Tower of Terror. So yeah, that was fun.
That
It
was
was
our first time getting on it that same night.
that
Uh,
was your first time?
yeah, that was my first time at Disney World, and I remember that Saturday, by then everything is, pretty much over, but you just pretty much hanging out.
Yeah.
And that Saturday I went again because I almost didn't go. And my
Mhm.
friend, shout out to my friend Brianna, she was like, "No, we got free tickets to Disney World. We need to go."
Yeah.
And so I'm glad I listened to her. Uh, but yeah, that was fun. How many NABJs have you been to since?
Most of them.
Mhm.
I went to, let's see, New Orleans. This is gonna be out of order. New Orleans, Miami. Um, is that it? I know I skipped Minnesota and Boston, but I've been to all the other ones besides those.
DC?
DC. Yep, that was in
Yeah.
2016. I went to that one.
Mhm.
So yeah, DC,
And
Vegas.
obviously Vegas.
Yeah. So I think I've been to four
So
since.
it's funny, you've been to literally the same ones I went. Did you go to Detroit?
Uh, yeah, I went to Detroit too. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't go to Detroit, Minnesota, or Boston. And I'm mad every time I think about Boston because I was working at ESPN at the time. And it
Yeah.
was the year after because I got my job at ESPN through the Orlando convention. And I was
Mhm.
like, I don't need to go. It was and a lot of my friends was going, and I was like, I should have just went. It was right up the, 2 hours up the road. But I at least went to the party that Friday night. But that's what
Yeah.
I did because I didn't get a chance to go to the actual convention for DC because I had just started at Johns Hopkins. So, but that Friday night, I was determined. I drove down with my friends and hung out. But do you have a favorite one?
Ooh, I would say New Orleans. I really
Okay.
enjoyed that one. It was like the vibe was just, it was so like family friendly vibes. The
Mhm.
food obviously is good. It was just like it's kind of smaller. I would say my least favorite was DC. Although I love the food, I love the area. I just felt like people weren't as connected there, and I think it was kind of the layout
Really?
of the hotel that I didn't really like. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. And then I would say for Vegas, I liked it, but I felt like, coming back from the pandemic, it was a little bit, you know, not as that family feel. Of course, there's the family reunion type feel, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just maybe was again the hotel was kind of spread out. So maybe for me, I like it when it's like closer, smaller. I think next year with Birmingham, that's going to be really that kind of feel. So
That's exactly what I have been saying to everybody
yeah,
as far as this year. I think one of the issues too was because it's Vegas, people was out and about,
yeah.
and then the sessions I felt could have been, I wish they would have put all the sessions closer together. They
Hmm.
just felt like those were spread out. I don't know if you heard the Twitter Spaces the week after.
I didn't. I missed
Well,
it.
yeah, it was a lot. They called it the good, bad, and the ugly,
The
and
good, bad, and the
people,
ugly.
let's say people, the personalities, they had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, I'll have to catch up on the tea.
Yeah. They didn't record it, unfortunately, but trust me, it's out there. You can find somebody be able to. We
Okay.
have to share those stories off the air.
Hopefully, I don't know. I'm excited for next year. I know a lot of people weren't really because of the location, but I
Mm.
feel like besides that, it's still going to be a good event. So
I,
looking
I
forward
think
to
because Vegas was the way it was,
it.
it made me more excited about Birmingham for the reasons like you said, like because it's going to be one of those things where we're going to feel more close knit because everybody's going to be closer together. And I
Yeah.
think if people, because when we was there, I said, "Oh yeah, next year is going to be better," and then it won't be as expensive.
Yeah.
The-
You know, honestly, another thing, I feel like maybe this is something both organizations can work on when there's a joint one. I still feel like it's still kind of segregated. I
yes.
never really see anybody from NAHJ around unless it's in passing. Don't
Mhm.
really see them at the workshops. I'm sure they're there, but I just don't feel that connection. And I'd like to see an improvement in that aspect.
Yeah, likewise. I heard they was the ones who chose the venue. That's
Wow.
what they said in that meeting. They said,
Well,
"Man,
yeah, that'll be interesting the next time around. Because I again with DC, I felt the same way in DC because that was another joint one. I felt it was
mhm.
more actually integrated then than it was at Vegas, but I still kind of felt it should have been more integrated.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely agree with excuse me. Let's move forward to what you're doing now. You're so let me make sure I got this right. You're basically doing both reporting on real estate and you're a realtor.
Yes. So I really recently got my real estate license. Uh,
Congratulations.
exactly a month ago. I just passed the test a month ago.
Wow,
Um,
let's throw applause on that one.
Yay. Thank you. Yeah,
Hmm.
so when I took the job I'm in now, I'm a real estate reporter in Miami. I had no clue about real estate, but I knew I was a good storyteller. So I applied for the job and I was like, this will be a nice change from what I've been doing. Um, it's for law.com. It's writing, it's not on air. And so I was like, let me try this. I want to improve my writing skills. And so as the year went on, I've been there for almost 2 years now. I was like, you know what? I'm really enjoying real estate. This is actually really interesting, and you can make money. So I started from my Christmas present to myself was to get the course. You have to take a 63-hour course, pre-licensure course, and then you have to get fingerprinted. You have to be approved to take the state exam. You also have to take a final exam. So I went through all of that process for the first half of this year. So now I'm licensed, and now I'm currently building up clientele and hoping to get some listings soon and help buyers, especially first-time home buyers, get into their homes and even investments. That's it's a hot market out there
Hmm.
that I'm learning, especially in South Florida. So I'm just here to help people, but I think my job helps with that as well.
Yeah, were you ever worried about like a conflict of interest?
I was, but I talked to my job and they were very supportive. So I mostly report on commercial real estate and I'm selling residential. So there's not the problem there. But yeah, they were, especially my boss, super encouraging. Yeah.
Wow, that is so cool. And it's a change of pace too.
Hmm.
Like we talked about, like just being at places like NABJ, you run into a lot of sports reporters, storytellers, MMJs, but this is a way for you to like really stand out. What's
Yeah.
the
And
one oh go ahead.
I was going to say, I was actually surprised. I met two people at the convention who are also reporters in real estate. So that was surprising for me. So I was like, hey, you know what? I'm not alone in this. And it's a great, second income as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're gonna be rich soon.
Let's
when
hope.
now you what was the change like moving to Florida?
Ooh, so it was my first time living anywhere except for the Midwest.
Mhm.
So the culture is different. Of course, so many people here speak Spanish. I only learned it in high school, so I don't know much. It's green because I'm so used to being in cities, which is buildings everywhere. I moved from Chicago, so it was a nice change. I'm still getting used to the warm weather. I love the warm weather. I don't like snow, so I'm loving that. But this sounds silly. I'm terrified of lizards, and there are lizards everywhere in this
Oh.
environment. So that's something I'm still getting used to. I'd say that's really my only complaint about being here in the South, but I love it. It's been
Oh.
nice change.
Yeah, because like I'm wondering, like it will definitely be a change of pace. You ever spent a Christmas in Florida or New Year's in Florida?
Yep, last year.
Okay, so
Yeah, it was my first time. So it felt different because it's warm and there's no snow, but I had everything decorated inside like it was winter. So,
mm.
kept that
Yeah,
tradition alive. And they still have Santa Claus dressed
right.
up in full Santa gear at the parades and stuff. So, it's still fun. It's a little weird. And they have fake snow everywhere.
Oh, okay. What's been the most rewarding thing so far just being a real estate reporter?
Ooh, I think with my job, so our audience is mostly like business and legal professionals. I think the most rewarding thing is when people will email me and say, hey, this helped me make a decision for my business, or, this was really helpful in this decision I had to make. So I think that's the most rewarding thing. I still feel like I'm helping people make informative decisions.
Awesome. So yeah, before we get out of here, I want to ask you, um, when you look back over your career so far, and obviously you've been got ways to go to before retirement, but you've been killing it. When do you think that Melea broke through the glass ceiling? When did you realize, like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing?
Hmm. I'd say I had a little bit of that every step of the way, but I think I really came into my own right before I moved here.
Mhm.
Because before then, I was trying to fit into what they want you to look like on air. I have been told multiple times, like, wear your hair a certain way, blah blah blah. But I was finally like, you know what? Like it was like the last few months of my previous on air job. I got braids. I started wearing my hair natural. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be me from now on, and no one's going to stop me from being me. And I took that into this job here. And I think that's really been beneficial because I feel like now I'm blossoming because I've decided to embrace myself fully with my skills and everything. So, yeah, I think right then was the moment for me when I wanted to break that glass ceiling.
Awesome, awesome. Malia, let the people know where they can find you.
So you can find me on Twitter at Melea VanOstrand or on Instagram at Melea VO. So give me a follow. And then I also have links on my Instagram to my real estate page. I post my real estate stories on there and any listings or anything if you're interested in that. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome, awesome. And if you're in the South Florida area and you need a house, y'all know who to call. Make sure you
Yeah.
call Malia. But
Also, one thing too,
mhm.
if you're not in Florida, I can still help you recommend a person in your area as well. So that's another cool perk too, or global.
There you go, folks.
Yeah,
So there's no reason you shouldn't be hitting her up for business purposes.
business purposes. Yes, but
But
I'm cool too. If you just want to chat, talk about mental health, whatever. I'm here.
there you go. But Malia, thank you. I appreciate you taking this time, and I'm like I said, I'm so proud of you. So happy to see you just blossom and just be happy. It's great to see.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on here. And it's been great to see you happy too. I remember we had that conversation. You said you felt that shift too. So it's nice to see both of us in a good spot.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. Seriously.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, make sure y'all follow Melea. And so long. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Breaking Through the Glass Ceiling.